And we're live. Welcome back to a new episode of the Wounded Viking podcast. Today, we have one of my dearest friends, childhood friend, an avid NBA freak just like me, career chemist. How else, man? What else am I forgetting? Gert Raeymaekers, by the way.
Well, I'm work as a validation engineer also. Work on a lot of automation currently, like software, machine learning, AI also. So that are also parts which I'm currently interested in and working on. And yeah, obviously I have a background in chemistry, so yeah, I've been working on for some big pharma companies also.
Which ones?
Some of the bigger ones.
We're going to get into that later. We're going to get into all of that. But before we do, I want to say, man, I'm happy to have a real life, almost everyday friend here because I've been looking at my podcasts. You know, as you all know, I've only been doing this for a good 2.5 months or only 2 months. And I'm still trying to find my balance. And what I've noticed is, so basically what I've been doing is I've been calling up all my friends who have potentially something interesting to say. But if I can just be critical of myself, I feel like it's been too much interview-ish. And the people that follow my channel, and not to sound, too full of myself, but they want to hear from me. So what I've been noticing is I've been posting all these clips with my guests, and I love the content myself, and I'm very proud of it. But in most of these clips, my guest is speaking 85% of the time, and I'm speaking 15% of the time. Mm-hmm. And to put it very frankly, people don't care as much about the guest as they do about me, so they tend to just fuck off, and they just stop watching. Mm-hmm. So today, I hope I can get closer to finding that balance with you, where I can also just talk more myself and keep it more like evened out. I think because we talk all the time, we talk daily, literally daily.
Yeah. Let's just have a general conversation about
exactly
topics we're interested in, topics that are active at the moment, that are that's like we normally talk, and
like we normally
stuff
do,
like NBA, but also politics. Things we talk about. Yeah,
we have a lot of common interests. We have a lot of common interests. Like actually, it started with the NBA like years ago, but then gradually, as we get more old and boring, we have become very interested in anything and everything that has to do with basically space exploration, AI, even politics to a certain extent.
And I think we also follow like the same sources. Like we all also follow Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, all these podcasts. We get the same intakes and we form our own opinions of it. And our opinions differ on it, but yeah, it's the kind of information we try to intake, and obviously it differs a little bit between us because I have more like a scientific approach on it, where you are more like
a philosopher. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
So that's where we differ, and it's good to have different opinions on it.
That's a very good point. Yeah. Do you ever catch yourself watching something on YouTube? I caught myself the other day and thinking, if I saw someone watching this 6 years ago, I would have been like, you fucking boring dude, like that. Like, I caught myself watching some content, especially when I'm listening to Lex Friedman, also because of his style of delivery. He's very monotone and he talks like this, and it's always like everything is the same, and I just had this like revelation. Like, whoa, I'm old. Like, I'm really in that next stage now where I love this super dry, technical, boring stuff. But I mean, obviously to me it's not boring, but I know for sure I would have thought this was terrible a couple of years ago.
Yeah, how he presents himself, it's super monotone. It's not that interesting, to be honest. But the things he talks about and how deep he goes, and it's just mind-blowing. And I wasn't aware of it, that people were like that 5 years ago, and that you could absorb that information on the internet, and that it would be presented in such an a good way. And because obviously you can always read about the things he's talking about, like AI or machine learning, or even go further with, he covers a lot of topics. But yeah, it's the podcast thing. It's I think it's a good way how the world is going forward. And yeah, I think it's a positive trend that we see, that lots of these podcasts are coming out and they are hugely popular, because a guy like Friedman, he gets like over 500K views on a video, so that's amazing.
And you say 5 years ago, but 5 years ago, like, it literally didn't exist, or even if it did exist, you had to, delve into the depths of the internet to find some audio-only podcast by some professors at Yale or Oxford University. Like, it was so hard to find. I would have never gotten into Lex Friedman had he never done video. Never. And this is something that we talk about a lot that still a lot of people don't seem to get. There's still a lot of really good podcasts out there that haven't converted to also putting out video. It just blows my mind. Like, because I'm one of them. I'm one of those people. Like, I'm one of the consumers where I cannot get into an audio-only podcast. There's something... I need to see the people, and I know I'm not the only one. And it's just like I'm probably missing out on a lot of really good podcasts because they just feel like, why should we do video? Like, we do audio, that's more than enough. But it's like, you have to do it.
Yeah, it adds benefits because you see the facial expression and how they are interested about it and how they behave and you can see a lot on somebody's face when they're talking about it. But to be honest, I do listen to a lot of podcasts in the car, because that's one of the main advantages, I think. Because, there's also have been a trend where a lot of webinars have been put out, and it's just basically like this PowerPoint presentation which people talk through. And most of these webinars, just by going over the PowerPoint, you get all the information. But these podcasts are way more interesting because you delve way deeper into the subject source. So... I think it's a good trend to see, and
it is a good trend. It is, and again, like, guys, like, it just becomes accessible. Like Lex Friedman, you feel like you're sitting in on a conversation between professors.
You feel like you know these guys, right?
You're right. That's,
like I feel like and Joe Rogan has also talked about this. Like, he sometimes meet people and they really feel like they know him. And that's a great part to see, I don't know if you ever experienced that, like with a fan or something.
Oh man, I wish I had so many fans coming up to me. It's happened, but it happened like 5 times in my entire life. And then they usually, dude, out of those 5 times, I think 2 of them didn't even remember my name. They just said, "I saw you. I know I'm supposed to know you because I saw you. I saw you on the internet. I don't know, like, you did something, right?" And it's funny, and people will come up to you, and because obviously they've seen you somewhere, and they're like, I know, I don't know what you did, I don't know who you are, but you are a big deal, so I have to like get a picture with you or something. It's funny, I was like, yeah, I'm really not that big, but at all. But I can imagine that people feel like they know you after watching a lot of content and things like that. But then there's a whole different side of you.
Yeah, because didn't you once say that when you were in Indonesia or Thailand, where was it, that you met somebody who knew you? Yeah,
in Indonesia. So me and my friend, I had it on video. I'm literally walking next to a dirt road with my friend Henry.
Yeah.
Shout out to Henry. And that was literally my second day in Indonesia, right? I'm vlogging, and this scooter... just like races by a guy and a girl on a scooter, typical in Indonesia. And they turned back and, "Oh, dude, you're Denzo. It was a German guy.
Okay.
I really like you." And I filmed the whole thing. And it was just like, you're out here, making, a special vlog, I guess. Like, yeah, sure. Like, the thing that always strikes me the most is how quickly estimate your importance. They immediately apologize also for taking some of your time, while not realizing that this is the highlight of my day, of my week, getting recognized.
Yeah.
Just like there's something about being on a screen, on a computer screen, that turns you from a mortal into like this bigger than life person. You're important, and they look at you like wow, and I'm like, man, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because it was my second day in Indonesia. Can you imagine? I'm thinking, wow, this is gonna be the best trip ever. Like
People know me here.
everyone's gonna know me here. You know, like that never happened again. That whole trip. But it's fun and it's cool. Like I cannot say that I haven't had, I've never had any type of like negative. What I want to know is all the people that have recognized me but haven't said something.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because there's a ton of them.
Me myself, I also wouldn't be like, oh hey Joe Rogan.
Exactly.
I wouldn't go up to him like that. Yeah.
Man, if I saw Joe Rogan in the street, would I go? Ooh. I know you wouldn't, because I know you wouldn't.
Yeah.
I know you wouldn't, but it would be
You would do it.
Oh my God. That he has spoken about it so many times that he doesn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know he doesn't like it.
But still.
So still I would be like, oh man.
But
Yo,
maybe
Joe,
for
I
you-
made a video about you saying your new studio sucks. I know you don't know me, but you inspired me to
I
start my own
think you're
podcast.
obliged to, because you're also on YouTube and you're quite relevant. Over 40K subscribers.
Yeah. Oh, I got 50 now, boy. I got
You got
50.
50?
I hit 50 today.
Yeah, 49, right?
Yeah, 39.8, but
Okay. Oh, really? 49.8?
yeah.
Nice. So, yeah, from a month ago, it was still on 46, I think.
Yeah. I had a video that went super viral. I had a crazy 3 weeks.
Okay,
So
nice.
I had the last week I had 100,000 views so 50,000 views a day.
Okay.
50,000. So that's for me. That's insane.
Which one went viral?
It's called My Last Day Alive. It was made about 2.5 years ago in my parents' backyard, and I talk about what I would do if I only had 24 hours to live. Great video, great video. I made it. But I can honestly look at some of my work and say this wasn't that good, and this was good. Like also from a cinematic point of view, like the background and the colors are really nice. Dude, I have a ton of videos that I'm very proud of that have like 1,000 views. And that's.
But you think that's because of the thumbnail or the title?
Fuck, man. If I knew, like, look at this one. Like this video was literally sitting on 2,000 views for more than 2 years, right?
Mm.
And just out of nowhere, all of a sudden, I'm opening my analytics tab, and it's just blowing up, and it's just like. That's just the magic of YouTube, man. It's a long game, and you never know what's gonna happen. But I do understand why. I have many videos that if YouTube started recommending them, people would love them. Because I also get hundreds of comments now on that one saying, "Wow, this is Because I really put again, I have faith in my content. I know that I've made some very good content over the years. Mm-hmm. Problem is, if it doesn't do numbers, people don't respect it.
Yeah.
It's all about the numbers.
It's interesting how that algorithm behind YouTube works. I don't know how you got into the viral part of it. I mean,
so weird. I did nothing.
It's probably just because another big time YouTuber released a video with some sort of the same title or something,
maybe.
And they got linked up or something.
I have a theory, because I have another video that also went viral but less viral. It's called 3 must-dos before committing suicide.
Okay.
Yes, I know. It's funny because, well, I shouldn't say it's funny, but the majority of the people that come there, because they commented, actually thought that it's a video explaining like the steps you have to go through to commit suicide. Mm-hmm. Like 3 must-dos before committing, this is what you have to do if you want to kill yourself. Whereas obviously the video is me trying to convince people not to commit suicide. So they're like, fuck, man, I came in here and learned how to kill myself, and you want to talk me out of it? Fuck you. It's a choice. So people are yelling at me in the comments. But to get back to what I was saying, I think that is because of the lockdown. I think that because of the lockdown, you have millions and millions and millions of people that are suffering from depression right now and who are just feeling suicidal, feeling depressed. And I think hey, if you want depressed content, then I got a lot of that. Because the first year and a half of my videos, man, I got so many videos talking about like, you know, what happened to me, you know, my experiences, emotions. Like I got a ton of that stuff. And nobody cared back then. But I do feel like it made me very proud that this video is blowing up now, because it's like, I was right. I knew that it was good.
Because I haven't really read a lot about that suicide numbers have risen through Corona. Like, it's an obvious fact, and obviously a lot of people are more depressed now. But yeah, it's not like I've seen a number out there where they're like, okay, suicides have risen 40% during the coronavirus spike. So it's weird.
It's very weird, and I mean, I don't know absolute numbers either. But I do know I read a lot of articles about, mental health overall. A lot of people just, you know, combine that with the fact that it's November.
Yeah.
The dark, like already. So apparently, every year the holidays there's a peak in suicides every single year. So if you just combine that with the lockdown.
Yeah, and being lonely and finding purpose in life, and it all combines. And I think in the summer it was also good because, you know, in the first lockdown we all felt like there was this general enemy which we had to fight, but now it's prolonged a lot, and it just feels like we're still doing this, and you know it's hard to stay motivated in it.
It's endless, and it's like, oh, okay, because in the beginning there was a lot of okay. 2 more months and then we're out. 3 more months and then we're clear. Like it was always like we're gonna save the summer. We gotta save the summer. Then no, so summer didn't get saved. Then it was we gotta, save Christmas. And now obviously yesterday the Belgian government has come out and said that there's basically not gonna be Christmas or New Year celebrations. And it just feels like, I think a lot of people were looking for a quick fix and that just never came.
Yeah, so it just confirmed what we already knew, but still people, when they get that confirmation, they're still really upset about it because, the government has been saying for a while now, Christmas probably is not going to happen. Yeah. But still people are super upset about it, like, why can't we have Christmas? Well, it's logical. You don't want to have a spike. You've been doing all of this effort and putting into it. Yeah, obviously you can't just end that because it's the end of December. Like the coronavirus doesn't care about it. So, I mean, it's illogical.
But you're absolutely right. But you know what I think it is? A lot of people are right now figuring something out that they didn't figure out before, and it's basically something that I already learned 8 years ago. Life is not fair, and people just have these like two worlds. They have the real world, and then they have like their own world in which certain things are non-negotiable. So the real world is obviously this world, right? Mm-hmm. Corona happens, everything happens. And then they have these things in their little fantasy world where it's like, Christmas is Christmas. You can't touch Christmas. Like, It's Christmas. It's like, the thing about that is that's just kind of like this thing that us humans made up. It's not like we talked to nature about it and made it. Hey, nature, look, I know you want to have the super volcano, but not in December because it's Christmas. Mm-hmm. Christmas is Christmas. Like, I feel like this is a lot of people have this thing where it's like, you can't touch Christmas. You don't. No, you don't. And people have the same with their birthdays. I've always found that odd. Dude, I know some people that used to think their birthdays were like, it was the most important day of their year. But it's weird. It's so weird. Like, no, it's really not that important. It's just a day. And I remember people getting super upset when people forgot their birthday, like really took it personal. And I was like, And it's the same with this Christmas thing. It's like the world, nature, the universe doesn't care about your little Western holiday. I think just,
Yeah, and I get it because people and families want to come together and, have some cozy time. And I get that people are aching for it, but I mean, it will probably be only in March or something that we can do that again, and maybe we'll see how quick the vaccine will come. But
the fact that and understanding that Christmas, something like Christmas, is actually that is being successfully canceled due to something outside of our control, for the first time ever, a lot of people in their life are right now peeking behind the curtain that the impossible is possible.
Yeah.
And they're having their first peek behind that curtain where it's like, so
this structure isn't.
It's all these things, like, it's just kind of like something that we designed. It's like, just because I'm good my whole life, it doesn't mean I'm gonna, receive good. Like these type of things, where people attach this irrational, trust to these things that still stems from the religion as well, And a lot of people are now figuring out, so it's really possible that me and my wife are not able to get pregnant, and then we finally get her pregnant after 4 years, and we have our baby, and 2 months after our baby is born, it gets fucking killed by a dog. Like, that can happen. No, but you know what I'm like? It's like it doesn't. Because people think, my point is, it's not a movie. Just because you went through all of the steps of, like in the movie, you're not guaranteed a happy ending. And many people just still haven't figured that out.
We're taught in a way to live our life a supposed way. And now people are figuring out, like, but this structure isn't obliged. Like, you can go out of it, and it's not what you necessarily need to do. And that's what people are learning now. Yeah.
They're seeing something for the first time, because and this makes them also, well, the smart ones at least, or the semi-smart ones, makes them start questioning and realizing that our entire society is kind of built on this very thin layer of ice of like peace, decency. We are evolved people. We have iPhones, we have MacBooks, we say good morning, we have manners, we have fancy restaurants. Dude, the minute some shit goes down and like people start losing losing the ability to feed their families, losing the ability to be safe and receive proper medical assistance and stuff like that, we turn back into savages, just like 2,000 years ago. And that's what, and I think many people just didn't. They were living in this, like, you know what I mean, this illusion of a.
But in that way, like from an economic standpoint, I think the real crisis is still coming, because now the government is giving all these incentives and all these packages for support, but in a year, a lot of companies will be like, okay, we're in serious debt right now, and they will go bankrupt. And a lot of people think that when the virus is away, or at least a vaccine is there, or we can just act normal again or semi-normal, that everything will get better. But that's the hard part. Probably the legacy of the virus will be even worse, and we're going to be in a crisis for 2 to 3 more years. Not like in a social crisis where we can't speak or act together anymore, but the economic crisis will be huge, and it will be interesting to see who prevails out of it and who will get even more depressed and.
Well, everything you just said, I absolutely agree with, and it just all comes down to the fact that we're continuously living in the future. We're always thinking about what I'm going to do in the future. If I just reach this, I'm going to be happy. If I just do, if I get my 2 kids and my white picket fence and my car and my Tesla, then I'm going to be happy. And it's like, that doesn't exist. The only thing that's real is like this current moment, this hour, this day. Everything else is just like this speculation, this illusion, and it never comes. That feeling never comes. And you're talking about the vaccine. I feel like people are starting to really assign things to this vaccine that have nothing to do with just solving COVID. People are now looking at the vaccine like it's gonna fix them. It's gonna fix their life again. No, the vaccine is gonna take care of the COVID part. Everything else, you still gotta take care of yourself. Like, newsflash, the vaccine is not gonna make you a better person. It's not gonna make you lose weight. It's not gonna make you more successful. It's not gonna make you better with the ladies. It's not gonna get you that promotion that you wanted. Like, you still have to, like, this vaccine has become this thing, where it's like people are waiting on it, like, oh, and then I can go back to my normal life. Dave Chappelle spoke about that the other day. He was like, people keep talking about, going back to normal, and once the vaccine hits, he's like, have we forgotten how shitty things were before Corona? Have we forgotten? Like, he was like, the world was messed up way before Corona.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe we'll appreciate the world more after Corona, and especially social contacts, I think. At least I would. I mean, that's something I've learned, that, social contacts are really important. And just to go out for a drink on a Saturday night is super important, man. And it's you appreciate it so much more now. And, well, yeah. I do think in some ways the coronavirus will have a beneficial effect on the world and how we view the world and how we behave ourselves. And it's not everything will be bad after it, but the economic crisis after it, I think it will, it will be huge. Yeah,
it's gonna be super interesting, and then we're living in the future, man. Like, we're gonna look back on these times. We're gonna talk about this pandemic to our grandkids, like, man, it was biblical. Like, everyone had to stay inside. It's gonna be, and a part of me is kind of like grateful that I'm able to live through all of these things and witness it and learn from it, because it's happening, man, right now. Like, maybe one day people will go back to this podcast decades from now to try and figure out what the mindset was like of the average Belgian male during the lockdown. We're just like, and it's important that we have these conversations and that we document it.
Yeah, because maybe we're ushering into a new era where these kind of pandemics are more custom. Because also because of climate change and the permafrost that is melting. There are lots of bacteria that shouldn't be in the atmosphere that may come out, and we'll see if that happens, if that occurs. Maybe this pandemic that we had in front of it will be our safe haven, because now we know how to create a vaccine and to treat these super bad viruses. So we'll see how that goes, because that's still a huge thing that will happen in the next 10 years. So how will the climate change evolve? Because from Belgium, like 10 years ago, it was a lot colder here.
Yo, dude, it's great. Like, it's so noticeable. Yeah. It's so incredibly noticeable how it's changed in 10 years. Like, obviously my girlfriend is from Peru, and we make fun of this all the time, She's like, it's not that cold. People keep telling me it's cold in Belgium, but it's not. I'm like, you're right, it's not. Like, it hasn't even gone below 0, and we're almost in December. That's insane. Like, we used to have snow in November, like 10 years ago.
You remember when we needed to go by bike to school, and in November it was like super cold. It was already snowing and stuff,
I know, man. I know.
It was crazy.
We are just in a whole different era, and it's. In a way, I mean, I'm selfish, man. Like, I can't help but think, like, in a very fucked up way, global warming is, at least in the short term, so don't shoot me for this, raising the quality of life in Belgium a little bit, because we have these, like, and it's not like that in Germany. Germany is a lot colder than Belgium still.
Yeah?
Dude, I was in Luxembourg, a lot colder. I think it has something to do with the fact that we're close to the North Sea and that there's this transatlantic flow of basically hot air from the Caribbean coming. I mean, don't quote me on that, please. But Belgium seems to be in a pretty great spot. And, I mean, as of now, I can't say that I hate the hot summers. I like hot summers. I feel like that's the summer. And I also don't mind the fact that winter is a little bit less cold. Then again, I do miss the snow, because I like snow. I'm not sure, man.
I love the seasons in Belgium. It makes you appreciate the summer more, I think. Yeah. Because every time in March you get this boost of when the sun comes out and everything is getting better in March. And that was also a part of the first lockdown, I think. Like, summer is coming. And yeah, obviously we've talked about it. That's a huge part of it. But yeah, I love the seasoning in Belgium, and the bad part about the weather in Belgium are those gray days where the horizon is just gray, and those are the worst days. I rather have rain than those gray days.
Yeah. Dude, everyone's gonna want to come to Belgium, man. I'm telling you, better get your property. I'm trying to buy some land before it's too late. we were speaking about new things. Basically, the world constantly changing, new things coming, and we were just talking about this the other day, where it seems like a lot of people are confused, and they seem to think that, okay, now we got smartphones, this is it. Like, yeah, they're gonna get a little bit more fancy, the smartphones, but they don't seem to understand that the smartphone is just like, this is just the beginning. This is literally this has opened a whole new world. And the paradigm will shift. Like, there will be a moment where smartphones will become just, useless.
Well, a smartphone is just the hardware stuff.
Right.
It's the software behind it, and the algorithms and the AI that keeps evolving, and that's the interesting part about it. Because you also got like things like quantum computing coming up, and technology, there are bad parts about it, because how it influences the media and the information we're intaking. But I think in a lot of ways, like for example, this blockchain technology can be really good to decentralize a lot of things, and for example, if you want to buy a house, you can go. You can, in the future, you might be able to do it without a notary, so you can leave it out because of, let's say, a blockchain technology which has a distributed ledger, and parts about that would be really interesting, and it will mean that you have to pay less when you're buying a property, for example.
Oh, hold on, explain that to me in monkey terms.
So, which part, the distributed ledger?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how blockchain works. So a blockchain is literally a chain of blocks which contain information, and it's a ledger. So it means that you have info, and when you want to change info, for example, one block contains this property is owned by Lawrence, and then you're selling it. Well, you're not changing the original information. You're making an extra block to the ledger, and this block contains Lawrence has sold it, for example, to I don't know who, person X, and that's how you're making a ledger. And what it has is it's called proof of work, and with proof of work, it also it showcases that it's distributed throughout the entire network, and this means that everybody can see, and so. It's not centralized in a way where, let's say, somebody can alter it. No, everybody, the whole network, always can see each part of each block that is added. So in that way, you don't have to have a regulating government. You don't need that regulatory instance, for example. So in that way, it's super cool, because then what's the part? Let's say, for instance, of a notary who is saying, you actually own this property and this is the information, because I looked it up. Well, he gets cut out, because all that information is stored into the blockchain part, or into one block. So that would be interesting. And there are lots of, this whole blockchain technology, and for example, with the elections, they were also talking about this. Like, in the future, we should do voting also based on this blockchain technology, which is then this distributed ledger, because we will know for certain that there is no fraud involved. Because you can't change it. It adds up, and it's all hashed and crypto. So is it hashing function, which is it stored, I think, or is it cryptography free? I think it's a hashing it's stored into these blocks. So people can change it, and it's secured. So it's super interesting how we can use some of these new technologies in everyday life also. But then there's also the part of, let's say, like something like quantum computing, which it's super difficult still, but it will make a lot of things possible, because if you combine that with, let's say, neural networks and the possibilities that we can go for, and the let's say, like the technology increase we can have because of things like that, it will be huge, I think.
But how are we going to get everybody on board? Because there is a very clear reluctance from not just old people. There's a reluctance from people in their 30s right now.
Against technology.
Yeah, they're just like, yeah, I mean, okay, I did the whole smartphone thing, I get it, but you know, this is where I draw the line. Like, we know people, you and me know people personally that just have zero interest in just kind of like going, you know, adapting and going with the flow, and just, how is that going to work?
But yeah, I think it's also about learning these people what it's actually about, because a smartphone, a lot of people think of a smartphone as like social media actually, because that is like a smartphone isn't, it's like, for a lot of people, a smartphone is inherently combined with social media. That's what you use.
Selfies,
for. WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and that's how they relate to a smartphone. But the smartphone was also super useful to navigate, like using Google Maps, or I don't know, a lot of things. All these apps. A smartphone is a gatekeeper of all your apps actually. So, and some of these apps are super interesting. So. Okay, so what you're saying was like some people are opposed to against, I've got a smartphone now, well, I don't want to go further with it. But I think we should explain to them that, like, for instance, like a blockchain technology, you can own your own private key, and all of your information will be much more secured because you own your private key and nobody else can access it. So, and it's very good set up with this thing called asymmetric encryption. Where you also have a public key. So in that way, people can store their information very well, and there is really not a lot of downsides to it. So, I mean, sometimes you just gotta push for it and go along with it, I think, with these kind of technologies.
I hear you, but at the same time, you know, there's so many people right now who are starting to develop this feeling, this notion that, you know, technology has become this dark evil force. Like, that's how they view it. AI has been painted as Terminator. You know, they're gonna come and kill us all, and it's a very clear divide, because it's so annoying. I had some dudes on Instagram. There's nothing worse than dumb people that figured out, you know, how to log in to the conspiracy forum. Like, oh man. And the worst part is, some of the things that they talk about are not even false. It's just that they don't know how to differentiate like bullshit from actual, you know, real things, and they just kind of throw it all at you at the same time. And it's like, oh, you're not helping anyone. You're actually doing, you know, a big disservice to the message that you're trying to convey. It's like, yes, it's important that we educate people on the dangers of, you know, for example, social media and how companies are targeting your privacy and using your data, you know, not for good, obviously. But then when you start talking about things like lizard people and you know, Earth being flat and the classics like that, it's like it takes all the power away from the good.
But the problem is, how can you blame these people while their information they're gathering that is being pushed to them is just based on some algorithms in which they've showed interest to. And that's just all they're getting now, and this algorithm keeps pushing it further and further. And you know, it's basically the premise of the social dilemma, right? Have you seen it now?
I still haven't seen it.
Yeah, but you've seen the podcast with Tristan Harris.
Yes. So I have. Yeah.
So you have the basic notion of it.
Yeah.
So that's literally the point of it. That's one of the bad parts about these algorithms, that in some cases they become black boxes where nobody actually really knows what they are doing anymore. And that's a problem, I think. And in a lot of ways, I think we need some regulatory oversight on companies like Facebook or Google, who are creating these personas of us, who have all this data about us and what they are doing with it and how they are selling it. So like it shouldn't be possible for a Russian guy to target some ads at us with a pure intent that's not right for us. Or I think there should be more regulatory oversight on it. Yeah.
Somebody needs to watch the watchers, basically.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah,
but we're figuring all this stuff out, man. Like that, and that's something I think people still haven't, really understood. It's like we're figuring this out as we go, and the days where Facebook and Google could just do whatever the fuck they want, they're already gone. Mm-hmm. Because Facebook is already under scrutiny and under a microscope with every move they make. Like they pulled a lot of shit 5 years ago that they can't pull today.
Yeah.
So it's already getting better in that sense, I heard this beautiful take from Duncan Trussell. He was comparing the rise of the internet to basically the discovery of fire by mankind. And he said, can you imagine, right? So the first time people figured out how to make fire, right? Mm. Like how many decades, maybe even hundreds of years, they just tried a bunch of really weird, fucked up shit because it's like, what is this? What are we looking at? Like imagine how many people's faces got melted. Like, let's just melt this. Like, let's put this, hold this thing against our friend's face. See what happens. You think it can destroy him too? And I can imagine people just, setting everything on fire just to see, like, you think we can burn this shit too? Mm. They would burn down, for sure, they would burn down their village because they didn't know what it was. And then after maybe like a good 100 years, they're like, all right, guys, so look, wood and fire, no good. So if it's wood, don't light it. But if we use it for meat gets better. And then they started building on that. And it's the same with the internet. We have been given, the internet, and we're just, as we go, we're just figuring out what is it really useful for, and what is it good for. And we're just, like social media. Dude, I wouldn't be surprised if in 50 years, people look at social media like, they ask us like, Grandpa, and you were one of those people that would, you would take selfies, and you would like, really? And you didn't think that was weird? Kind of like, you would ask a German from the 1930s, like, so hold on, you were living in Germany, and you were cool with Hitler, and you voted for him? Like, and I'm sure they're like, yeah, at the time. Yeah. And I really think like we're just at the very, very beginning of all of this stuff.
They would look at us like crazy fools that we put up all of these pictures of our vacation pictures on the internet for everybody to see. I think they would really laugh at us like, how stupid are you?
Yeah.
And to push all our opinions on Facebook and all of this stuff, they will be real, what were you doing? Yeah.
Mom, you mean to tell me that you took pictures of yourself naked and then you sent them to someone through a communication app? You gave your picture to WhatsApp, and then WhatsApp gave that picture to your boyfriend at the time? Really, Mom? It's just dude, we're already like we're saying 50 years. We're already getting there. Like all it took for us was like a good 10 years to go like, yeah, maybe this isn't the best idea.
Yeah, it's interesting because also there is an obvious spike in polarization, like let's say in the US between Democrats and Republicans, and the rise of Facebook. So it's a correlation that has been proven, and it's obvious because of these advertising and these news articles and all people getting to post an opinion which everybody can read, and it just polarizes a lot. And I'm really curious where we will go and how, let's say, for instance, Joe Biden will tackle this. And there are already these antitrust laws going on, but I don't know if have you seen those hearings?
They're weird, man.
Yeah.
First of all, Zuckerberg always looks like he's a robot.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, he does look like a scared robot in a way.
But I don't think he's scared of the government. I think he's actually more scared of his shareholders. And I think he knows exactly what he's doing wrong, but he can't alter it anymore because of the business model he has and because of the shareholders. And I think he does want to change it, but it's a public company now, and there's billions of dollars into it. And I think he even said it like, yeah, if you should make regulations for us to follow, but I can't make those regulations for you. So, but he's saying that to these old guys, like 60 years old, who really aren't grasping what it's doing, and they should also put some technologists in it, like a guy like Tristan Harris, for instance.
Or Lex Friedman, also. Guys like that. Yeah, a combination of those type of... Yeah. No, that... Dude, can you imagine being Zuckerberg? Like, how awesome do you think he goes like, man, I'm in over my head. Like, all right, act cool, act like you got this. Like, I wonder, man, I would love to smoke a joint with him or do some type of like, you know, intoxicating liquid or drug or alcohol just to get like to have like this real conversation with him and
I don't know. I think he's very rational. I don't think he ever really gets that emotion of being over his head. Like I think he just figures out what's our data and how can I use this and what can I do. And I think he's very rational and about it. So I don't know if he acts like that. But you should once have a Zuckerberg here on the pod and smoke a joint with him like Elon did.
That would be amazing, man. That would be amazing. I wonder, man, like, I can't imagine what it must be like to be one of those people at the top, like, literally deciding mankind's fate.
Yeah.
Just like
that's what they're doing.
That's what they're doing.
And they're talking then also all the time about Google, Facebook, but it's also the general media, like for instance in Belgium, like HALN or all these other media channels or the news, the responsibility they have, and how sometimes you can read an article on HALN and the narrative they push, and sometimes it's not like they go in one way. Sometimes it's more left centered, sometimes more right centered, but the power they possess to influence the public's opinion it's really crazy. Because for instance, we were talking about this week, the jogger story.
Oh man, hold on. So for the people who are unaware, HLN, which is an abbreviation for Het Laatste Nieuws, which means the latest news in Dutch, is the most popular newspaper in Belgium, basically. And it's kind of like this standard paper that is very sensationalized. They have the clickbait titles, but it's also fun to read because they always juice up the story. They're definitely not the best, like they don't have that much journalistic integrity, but it's fun to read. These are the articles that a lot of Belgians send to each other on WhatsApp. And man, we're gonna get into this one. We have to thread lightly because I have a lot of American people watching my pod, and I know American people love their dogs. So we really have to do a good job putting everything into context here. So I'm gonna paint a picture for the people listening and watching. What happened in Belgium is about 2 weeks ago. So basically, you have a woman. Who was the owner of the dog?
I think it was a man and a woman. Yeah.
Oh, so you have a couple, and they have a dog. And they're walking their dog, as every single Belgian is doing right now, because with the corona lockdown, all we can do is walk. So the whole country is walking. People who never walked before are walking and jogging, which is obviously a recipe for disaster. So what happens is this couple is walking their dog, and they do not have it on a leash, which is absolutely ridiculous. You're supposed to keep your dog on a leash at all times. I mean, I get it. If you go out into nature, you're all by yourself, let him do his thing. But if you're on a street, keep the dog on a leash, please. Not just for you, also for the dog, for all the other people. I really shouldn't have to explain why. I think that's quite, that's pretty rational. So this jogger basically passes these people. And as it happens all the time, and I know because I also jog and it happens to me all the time as well, the dog, which is a Jack Russell, which is actually quite an aggressive type of dog. Like,
really?
My neighbor used to have 2 Jack Russells. Dude, this is not like your typical, it's a small dog.
Yeah, because it looks really cute.
It's small, but it's like a typical, like, it's not one of those small dogs that just look harmless. No, a Jack Russell, and I've lived with two Jack Russells across the street for over a decade. I'm not saying they're like terrifying, but they love charging towards you and barking and yeah, exhibiting quite aggressive behavior to a person that doesn't know dogs that well. They charge towards you. And this Jack Russell basically charged towards the jogger who feels threatened. And apparently this jogger is a plant enthusiast. So he always takes a little knife with him on his jogs. And that's kind of weird. I do have to say, that's weird.
And
like,
that he was holding it.
That you're holding a knife in your jog and like, dude, really? That's weird.
Maybe it was in his pocket, huh?
But even like, the notion of taking a knife with you when you're jogging, to me, that's weird. So obviously we are dealing with a weirdo. I think that's safe to say.
But he's probably an obsessive about plants and he's really crazy. But I also think it's weird that you go for a jog and then you stop for cutting out a plant. I mean,
the whole thing is weird. That's the official story.
Yeah.
So then the dog charges towards him, and this fucking guy goes full, Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme on the dog and manages to fucking kill the dog.
But you don't know it was like that. Probably he just stabbed him or something.
Yeah, but for you to like,
I don't know.
That takes a lot of like to take a knife and make this movement towards a living thing. Though there's a big area between having that thought and doing this.
But the dog was following his instinct, I think, which is charge up to a person, and you can't blame a dog for it because it's just a dog.
You can't blame the dog. That's true.
But that guy who's probably afraid of dogs, he was probably also following his instinct and trying to protect himself. I don't know.
And shit, man, I wasn't even going to try to defend this guy, but I just think for the sake of context, it's important to make clear, if you could replay this situation 1,000 times over and with less extreme people, it takes a certain type of person, first of all, to already have a knife on him. I don't care that you're collecting plants. And to do this.
But to stab something, right?
Dude,
yeah.
So he ends up killing the dog. He kills the fucking dog. Again, and like, in my mind, and I wasn't there, and I guess it happened really quickly, but like, you to kill a dog with a knife, you can wound him. But to kill the fucking thing, like, it takes, you have to be very, like, I don't know, man. It's weird. Whoa.
But it's still a small dog. Like, can't you just throw it away? Or
throw it away. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but I mean, no. But Jack Russells again. No, they got teeth. They bite. They're able to bite. Like a Jack Russell. Like anyone that's listening that knows Jack Russells, I am quite convinced that they're actually being used for hunting as well. Don't kill me if they're not. Crazy dog people. So anyway, now we get to the core of the thing.
Yeah. This
whole media outrage followed, and the guy basically started receiving death threats because the whole country is angry at this guy for killing this poor little Jack Russell. And it's like, what? How does that make sense? Like, and this is a pet peeve of mine, something that has bothered me for years. It's like, all right, many people love dogs. Cool, I get it. Nice, good for you. I love NBA. We all got our things we love and whatever. But the thing about people with a dog is they just cannot or never seem to be able to grasp the potential notion that perhaps another human being might not be that into dogs.
Yeah.
It's a foreign concept for them. It's like when I leave my house with my new beige jeans that I just bought and my mom just ironed, I don't want your dog jumping on my leg. I don't care that he doesn't bite. Because that's another thing. Hey, don't worry, he doesn't bite, eh? Who the fuck are you? Are you the dog whisperer? Like, it's a wild animal. And I don't even care. Like, I don't want the dog touching me. And again, I'm not saying, sometimes I do like it when the dogs touch me. And I like to play with the dog. But I like to have that choice.
Yeah.
And it's just dog people, man. They have like this dog cult where it's like, how could you not want to pet my dog? I've had many girls tell me, man, like female friends and whatnot, tell me, if the guy tells me he doesn't like dogs, there's no second date because I know what type of person he is. It's impossible to be a good person if you don't like that tells me everything I need to know. Like what?
Yeah.
You know?
People are irrational when it comes to dogs, man.
Fuck.
It's insane. Yeah.
It has in Belgium and for sure in America 1,000 times more even. It's on the same level as a newly born baby.
Yeah.
It's like a dog is just like. And again, like I understand right now I'm sounding like I hate dogs. I actually like dogs. I do. I love dogs. I really do. I just don't have this like fucking psycho value system in which I place the dog at the peak of all things.
Yeah, they're valued more for a lot of people than a human life.
A lot more.
Which resembled because of the death threats that this guy got.
This guy.
But also, when you look at the story, how it was, the first premise of it, how it came onto HALN, was that they were walking around with their dog, and the jogger was just running around, and out of nowhere, he killed the dog. That was the first premise of the story.
Yeah. So it sounds like a silent assassin that was plotting on the dog.
Yeah, like a crazy person who just runs around to go kill dogs.
Looking for dogs to kill.
The first premise of the story.
And then you're
afterwards, it came out like they had to yell, "Oh no, he will not hurt you." Like if you had to yell, "He will not hurt you." Yeah, obviously the dog was attacking this guy. He was jumping on.
That's the worst. The worst is he doesn't bite. They always say that he doesn't bite.
How do you know?
I don't give a fuck. I don't know your animal. I'm not like, excuse me for not putting the life of my fucking ankle, calf muscle into the hands of your diagnosis of your dog. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so annoying, man. People with dogs, they need to chill out. They really do. They have this weird thing. And it's like, it's no longer in balance. Surely you must be able to see this. Like if you're listening right now and you have a dog and you love him more than life itself, you need to really think about that. You need to really think about that.
But yeah, I think the dog owner should be kept responsible for the dog. And sometimes I think a lot of dog owners don't understand that, like, if your dog bites somebody, you're responsible, not the dog. You can't blame a dog. I mean, it's a dog.
No.
So I don't know. I don't know what the regulatory laws are about it. Like you said, they should keep it on a leash.
Yeah, I think it's illegal to have your dog off the leash. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm like 99% sure you cannot have your dog off the leash on the street. Eh?
Yeah. No. Well, I think the owner should be kept responsible. Like for instance, if your dog bites a kid and it gets wounded really bad, the dog owner should be kept responsible. And it's not like I didn't see this coming. Like no, you're responsible. You should be in place for your dog. And that's how I feel about it.
Dude, walking your dog without a leash and then getting upset when people actually have the audacity to say something about it, that's like me going outside right now with my basketball, dribbling the ball, and then just throwing this chest pass at unsuspecting civilians. Like, yo, it's your ball. What do you mean? You don't like basketball, bro? You don't like it? What? This is my life. I'm going to the NBA. The fuck you mean? Always be ready, man. That you got a black eye, I broke your nose. Always be ready. Split vision. You didn't learn from Mike? You don't know Michael Jordan? That's the same thing. It's like, don't take your little passion and throw it onto other people.
I agree. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. No, we're gonna get killed for this. We're gonna get killed.
They're super irrational. It's crazy.
The people. I can hear them coming. Listen to me. I'm speaking from the future right now because I already know there's gonna be some fucking people commenting. You don't get it. Listen, you don't get it. You are the problem, not me.
Yeah. Because I think because of Corona, a lot of people also probably got a dog. A lot of singles.
I think so.
Did you think so?
Yeah. Dude, fucking Katya, man. She sometimes talks about getting a dog like in the distant future. Like not now.
On your apartment here or...
Well, yeah, if we ever get to the level of buying a house and stuff like that. And need to. But then I'm like, so you better be ready to walk it. Fucking 2 or 3 times a day, take care of and then what do you,
And the walking part is not even the bad part.
No,
'cause
that's the
can
good
go out,
part.
but it costs a lot of money, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's expensive, I think. And yeah, it bites things. You need to clean your house more often. It's
I do
Yeah.
love, like, I do want to say, like, I had a dog in Barcelona. I had this I forgot the breed, but I used to sleep with it because it was like a pup, and I that's the funny part. Like, I actually love animals and I love dogs, but it's just like when I see this crazy behavior, I can't help myself.
like I said, like you can't blame the dog. It's the owners. Those are responsible for it. In my eyes, I mean.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Man, we have gone about what? We're almost like 45 minutes in, and we haven't even gotten to the Pharma talk yet.
Oh, the pharma talk.
Yeah, talking
Okay.
about Pharma, man. This is going to be a good one. So, basically, all right. Let's create some context. You have been active in the pharmaceutical industry for the past 10 years.
8 years. Yeah.
8 years, all right. You've worked or are working for Pfizer. You work for Janssen Pharmaceutica. That's it, right? Because you're always switching a lot.
Basically, yeah.
Basically, yeah,
And some
right.
smaller companies, but yeah.
So we've had this debate or this conversation many times in private, and I really, I want to allow you the opportunity to really give your side. I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna make my points too much because I feel like there's already enough of that on the internet. Basically, people condemning big pharma, and I am definitely one of them. I'm very skeptical of big pharma. I think they have a track record of criminal activities and having a primary focus on making money instead of actually helping people, and trying to. I think that their main concern is to sell as many pills and potions and lotions as they can. They're a business. We were talking about the stakeholders from Facebook not too long ago.
Yeah.
The same way they have their stakeholders, like the way
every company.
right?
Like every company.
Like every company.
Yeah.
The way I look at pharma is, I am sure that the founders of those companies were actual doctors and damn good doctors too. And I'm pretty sure that they had noble intentions. But then over the years, it just fell into the hands of businessmen, people who are trying to accumulate as much wealth and power as they possibly can. And they're just using their pharmaceutical group or company for that specific purpose. So basically, to put it very black and white, many people like to say big pharma is evil. Big pharma cannot be trusted. There's always a bigger agenda there. Even now with the vaccine, a lot of people don't want to take the vaccine because they might think it's something, it has an evil agenda. What do you say from your side, from the inside basically, to those people?
Well, basically, if you're saying big pharma, it's all mobsters. And they don't try to do any pure good. It's just about selling. Well, obviously, we're living in a capitalistic world, so obviously that's a big part of it. And the shareholders are super important. But in general, I think 99% of people working in big pharma actually have really good intentions. And I think, well, from a standpoint where I would come in, is that it's the lobbyists and the marketing people that fuck up this kind of system where actually a lot of things are good that are coming out of big pharma. A lot of pharmaceuticals do help a lot of people. Like could you have, for instance, like that there wouldn't be a possibility to have a vaccine now? Like that would be terrible. So we're always only looking at the very bad part that they're doing, and obviously there are some bad cases, like, and I'm not gonna disclose on it, but there are a lot of things out there, like I think
like you're talking about like things that happened in the past, for example, like Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma.
Opioids, or I think Sanofi was also involved in some bad publicity about it, where they held back some sort of the research. But I mean, it's not about the companies, because when you're doing and you're selling pharmaceuticals at one point, maybe there will go something wrong. It's inherently possible. So that just occurs, and sometimes there are just individuals who fuck it up for a lot of other people. But in general,
and these individuals, you're talking about CEOs of specific companies?
CEOs, or maybe lobbyists or marketing people who just push their strategy onto a CEO even. And I think, well, we shouldn't generalize it as in that way, because obviously they have a lot of power, and in a lot of ways they're even like, they make the laws more than the government does. But I think the system where, when we're talking about big pharma, is the problem also relies in the US, where you can buy pharmaceuticals on a free market. There you can make up your own prices. That's a big problem, because over here in Europe, the regulatory agencies, they discuss the prices with these pharma companies, and they come to a consensus. How that actually works, and if it's super fair, I'm not sure, because I haven't been a part of some of those discussions. But it's blatantly obvious that in here, let's say Europe or Belgium, the prices are way lower for some of those pharmaceuticals than in the US, because there you can just ask what you want. And I think the US needs to up the ante on it. Like they should just have some new regulatory laws about how, like, you can go to a supermarket and buy all the pharmaceuticals you want. Like, it's not good for you to take a lot of pharmaceuticals. That should be obvious. But when people can buy it in a store, they just do it. Like, you take a painkiller, okay, and some people just take painkillers.
Yeah.
Like, it's obvious for them. Like, why would I do something different? No, it's not good for you.
It's about education. It's about education.
Yeah,
educating people. That's always my biggest thing. Also, is like when I go to a pharmacy, it looks like a supermarket, and that bothers me. There's all these like promos and like posters, and it's like, but this should be nothing else but like this office where you go with your prescription from the doctor to get your pills. Like every box in here should just be plain white. Like whenever you mix marketing with pharmaceutical like products and just like the health of people, that's where I think the biggest problem lies. Dude, there was a time, and you can Google this, where there were posters in pharmacies, this is obviously decades ago, they used to sell cigarettes, claiming these cigarettes would make your teeth whiter. Like, I'm talking, but that's where we come from. And obviously we've gotten a lot better, but I do feel like there is still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, it shouldn't be about how great your package looks. It should be about the quality control on it. And what about your excipients? Because there are a lot of white products now on the market which have the same kind of API or basic functionality. The efficacy of the product probably should be the same, but who really reads into what's in it? So let's say the excipients, and maybe when you're buying a white product, it does much more harm, and there is much more chemicals in it that are bad for you than, let's say, for instance, from another company. But how do we know this? Is there somewhere where we can check this? No, not really. You just trust your pharmacist,
and that happens a lot.
And what's the pharmacist, his intention? And this is also something that goes terribly wrong in the US. Well, they get incentives from these pharmaceutical companies, and that should be prohibited. The pharmacists should not be pushing someone's agenda. They should be basing what they sell based on just facts and data. And that's where I think it's off.
That has happened to me. So I've gotten a prescription from my doctor. I go to the pharmacy, and they go, "Oh yeah, he wants you to get this, but I got something that is the same." Mm-hmm. And you're just like, "All right, cool.
Yeah.
And you don't spend any second thinking about it or like questioning it. That's happened. And that should be illegal, but clearly, obviously, and it's not. And then we just come back to the classic issues of lobbyists and government and big pharma being in bed with each other. Well, in that regard, I think we're pretty lucky in Belgium. I think if you look at America, that's a whole different league. I mean, the people that run for president literally have to go to these companies to ask for funding to run for president.
Yeah.
It's like there's just some things about the U.S., man, that to this day continue to blow my mind. So you're telling me that the people who are going to run the country literally have to take out loans from the companies that then later on they're supposed to regulate. Like, what do you think is going to happen?
It's a fucked up system, right?
So crazy, man.
Yeah, but like from my experience when I've talked also with people who are on drug development, and it really hurts them that the pharmaceutical industry has this bad name because they work for years and years. And like, for instance, normally when you're creating a pharmaceutical product, it takes over 10 to 15 years. And yeah, when 10 people, and they're actually doing it to make people better, to have cures, to cure diseases. And they still like, oh no, it's you're one of the bad guys. No, like they're actually trying to help people, and that's sometimes where I feel it's that also the media is pushing this narrative where they're super bad. Like 95% of the things they're putting out there, it's really helping people and it's curing diseases.
Can you imagine spending like big parts of your life working on something? You're basically. This is your magnus opus, this is going to be your legacy. Like, they'll remember me as the guy that invented the vaccine XYZ. And the minute you do, there's a bunch of people outside screaming at you, fucking, protesting with signs like, "You fucking murderer!" And I think it's very important to separate, because that's the thing. We love boxing things in one word. The same about conspiracy theorists. No, a lot of people are actually very intelligent and they're right. A lot of conspiracy theories are right, but we just love to put them all together into the same box with the lizard people. So fuck them, right? And it's the same with this whole pharma thing. We need to make a clear differentiation. Damn, I'm fucking that up. Well, we need to make a clear difference between the people who are actually in the lab, creating these things, like the actual geniuses, blah, and these slick American Psycho lookalikes in the suits who are just like coming in, I imagine them just like, peeking through the window like, how much longer do you need? And then they go to the shareholders, we got something coming. And like, I feel like I believe you. I do. I have no reason to believe that the people, it's like the person who invented the atomic bomb. He didn't, he didn't want that. But it's the people who are running these companies. I don't trust those fuckers.
But for instance, there is like this case of a guy, Michael, I don't remember exactly his name anymore, but he's being referred to as the most hated guy in America. And what he did, he bought a product, a pharmaceutical product, and he's a hedge fund guy. So what he did,
I know who you mean.
He raised the prices instrumentally. Yeah. And afterwards, he was even, how he went about it, like, I should have raised it even more. And even now, now they got him in jail.
He's in jail,
He's in jail now. And he tried to come out because he said he's needed to cure the coronavirus. So he says he's an integral part of curing the coronavirus. But guys like that really fuck it up because a lot of people have put so much work into that product probably, and then there's this one fuck up who just buys the product and he has way too much money and he just raises the prices super much, and he fucks it up, and then these stories come out, and they're bad for the entire industry. So these things is that's why I feel like some of the big pharma mobster stories are a little bit I don't know. It's a little bit not the right narrative always out there, I think.
But I want to ask you, and I want to be critical, I'm not going to let you off the hook. How much of that you think is you being in a daily environment, surrounded by people, working for a pharmaceutical company, and there is a culture in your company. I know there is. There is a culture that's pro-company. They're paying your bills, and they're your bosses and your colleagues. So obviously, you can put faces to these names. You know, for you, it's not CEO XYZ. No, it's Mark and Tim, and they're nice guys. And at the Christmas dinner, you know, they bought me a drink. So it's like, how much of it is you also being surrounded with people who obviously want to feel proud about what they're doing?
Yeah, obviously, and I've seen that with the vaccine that Pfizer came out. A lot of people were really proud about it. But obviously, Pfizer is going to make a lot of money on it. So it's a little bit, we're not that humanitarian.
Yeah,
and it's not like this philanthropist thing. But you know, I get it. Obviously, and they can have their moment. I think it's good for them to have some purpose, and it's good for everybody, I think. But well, the problem is, I think it mostly gets fucked up in the higher regions of the companies, and they're just trying to make the shareholders happy and make as much profit as they can. Most people who 99% of the people who are working on it aren't really that involved with the prices or with the profit of it, but obviously they're taking advantage of it because of their the money they're making. But like for instance, one of the crazy stories also was like, I think it's from Sanofi, where in Canada they had a pharmaceutical that cured not blindness but almost blindness, and they could inject that into the eye. But the thing was, it wasn't really made to cure blindness in the eye. It was actually a pharmaceutical against cancer.
Okay.
But producing this only costed $60, I think. But then I think Novavax or Sanofi, I'm not sure anymore which company it was, and it doesn't really matter because it was a big pharma company. And they also created actually a pharmaceutical that really is targeted to cure that kind of disease. And they try to push up that pharmaceutical to every hospital. And these hospitals were like, no, it's costing us too much money and people can't pay for it. And these are these lobbyists that try to go on with it and push it on to everybody. And I think that's where, how can you cure that kind of problem? I don't know.
I mean, and the reason I bring up the company culture is because it actually happened to me in a past life. I used to work for BP Oil, which is BP Oil is just as bad as any pharmaceutical company.
Yeah, like obviously with where was it? The oil leak?
They had this massive oil leak when a drilling platform in the middle of was it the Atlantic Ocean?
I don't know.
Well, off of the East Coast, of, and basically the biggest oil spill ever, environmental disaster, the entire coastline of the U.S. and everything in the Caribbean, like it was all just oil. And I remember, like, I went to work for BP, and this is years after the fact. And mind you, I'm working in a BP, factory in Belgium. So we don't have any, we're not Americans. So you would figure, we're just here to do our job and whatever. And I remember after, working there for a few months, I would mention the oil spill. And it was so absolutely fascinating and weird to see the people's reaction, like how awkward it's like, no, you do not talk about it. Like, I remember thinking, are you guys fucking kidding me? Like, first I thought they were joking, but it was just like, no, you didn't talk about it. And I remember that I mentioned.
But it's weird why they feel so connected to it. Is because
so weird.
They're totally not to blame for it. It's somewhere totally different.
It's so weird. It's like
total different location. I mean, I don't get it.
Shout out to BP for creating a very good company culture that includes all their employees. Clearly, they were successful at creating a culture that feels like, you know, it's us against them. And because I remember at the time there was like an article about it. That's why I talked about it, at the job about something. I completely forgot the general premise. That I remember my boss going, well. Look, listen, I'm not saying we didn't do anything wrong, okay? Yeah, okay, mistakes were made. All I'm saying is I have never seen a pelican that was able to fly 15,000 miles in one day. And so he was referring, back then, there was this epic picture of a pelican drenched in oil. And this kind of became like the mascot of the whole story. Yeah. This beautiful bird being covered in oil. Yeah. And that was like on papers everywhere. And his thing was like, what do you mean, you didn't hear? So they saw the same pelican. At noon he was on the coast of, like, let's say, Boston, and then 4 hours later he was in Mexico. Like, I'm just making these places up, but his point was like that the media, they only had one picture of a bird, and they kept using this bird and putting it in different geographical locations to like overstate the impact of the spill. And I remember looking at him like, that was the moment when I stopped respecting him as a man and as a boss, because I was still early in my process, and I was looking at him like, right, okay, I see. So you're completely
in denial.
Yeah, and just like it's kind of like, oh, dude, you fucked my wife. I know you did. I got videotape off of it, and then you want to make this whole point. It's like, listen, man, technically I didn't fuck her. Like, I just used my fingers. Like it's like, so you shouldn't be like, it's like, okay. What are we, I'm not sure if that was the best analogy. I'm literally just saying the first thing that comes to my head, but like, it's just like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that they used the same fucking, like, it was a good picture, man. And that was just weird overall. Like, that whole vibe, that whole atmosphere. And whenever it came to DP, they were just like, they were saints.
Yeah, you don't talk about it. That was the whole.
You just didn't talk about it. You didn't mention it. Like, just keep it moving.
Because it cost a lot of money for them.
And because they fucked up the, like, dude, dozens of animal species became extinct due to that.
Because I recently heard that Trump gave his permission to drill holes in Alaska, so in the Antarctic, for oil also again. However, apparently it's something that's probably not going to happen because it's way too risky out there, and also there is a lot of protests from the environmentalists against it. So probably no oil company will risk doing it because the Antarctic, it's really hard surface to do oil borings.
Yeah, like drillings.
Drillings, yeah. So it probably wouldn't happen, and I think in every legislation of the president, it gets reversed. So then probably now Biden is going to reverse that judgment again. But I think it's interesting, like, are we still going to drill for oil, the coming years, and aren't we going to stop it? Like, we need some new energy on it, and I feel like the U.S., I hope Biden really changes this strategy. They
want to be independent. That's their thing. Yeah. If they can drill their own oil, they don't need the Middle East, and they don't need China, and they don't. So that's their whole thing. Like, they want to be able to be independent, and I guess that comes at any cost for them, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's the environment, right? And we'll see. I mean,
but again, the Americans do. They're like, many Americans. They're like, dude, nobody talks about, like, they're all on our ass for fracking and doing all these things. Nobody talks about China and Russia, like they're fucking polluting shit too. It's this very juvenile mentality of like they're doing it too. It's like, yeah, well,
Yeah, it's kind of childish, huh?
yeah, but dude, you would be surprised, man. Like, and I'm not gonna get into this again because I've already spoken about this a million times in this podcast, but there's a very vast distinction between our idea of Americans and most Americans. Like, a lot of Americans that I meet are quite conservative, and they're not all pro-environment, and they're not as politically correct and like educated as you would think. Oh no, let me get that. They are educated, but still they make the decision where it's like, no, we have to put our independence first.
Because they're capitalistic.
They're capitalistic, and they're just like the psyche of an American person is one of the most interesting things for me to talk about. Like they are.
But wouldn't
they
you
are
say
just.
there's a big difference from the state they're coming from? Or do
That's
you say
true.
in general there is an
Yeah.
underlying feeling of Americanism?
There is though. There is a base, and they will never they'll never admit it, but there is something. I'm still looking for the correct terminology. That there's something about Americans, and that base is the ego. Doesn't matter what state they're from. Like, yes, they're very different.
Because they still feel they're the greatest country in the world.
They do, man. They do. It's inherent. It's something that's just like part of them, where it's like America. Like, they just have this thing. They have it, and even the ones who are like super liberal and super like pro like rest of the world and all this stuff, and that love to talk shit about what they do wrong as a country, they still have this thing where it's like there's so much individualism in the American culture. There's so much like, you're special, you know?
That's basically the building blocks of Western society, also the individualism, and that's why we clash so much with this Chinese or what is it?
Aristotle?
No.
Aristocrats?
Aristocrats, yeah.
I thought you were talking about the philosopher Aristotle.
No, aristocrats.
Yeah.
That's so different because that's why they are also so good at, as a group, going against, like, let's say, coronavirus, because they all follow their leader and they're not individualistic about it, and that has advantages for, let's say, for survival. Your survival mode is way better if everybody follows the rules.
Yep.
But it also takes away creativity, and we've seen that so many times. Like, these Chinese people, they don't have our creativity, and that's what's our added advantage.
Thank God they don't. Thank God they don't.
However, we were seeing now, like, there are some companies coming out of China who are actually quite good and quite great. And, like, let's say, I think, for example, NIO, which is making EVs, they're a great company, and I think their cars are as great as, let's say, Tesla. So, but probably they're more like copying it. But and
also, because people always mistake my opinions on America for talking shit, make no mistake about it. Young people in Europe, we are America light. We're following, like, there's not, like, Europe is really not that much better. Like, I do feel like the older generations, they have their own thing. They are European, they have their own identity. But any person that's living in Europe under the age of 30, we are so heavily influenced by American sitcoms, TV shows, media, me included. And so it's not like we're that much better, but we are, because of the geographical distance, it's like we definitely suffered many of their effects, but lighter. Like, we're not...
Yeah. It's the Hollywood syndrome, and also the Netflix syndrome. I think everybody watches American TV shows on Netflix, from Netflix, I think. That's something I do know more often, is on Netflix to not watch only American shows and to broaden it up. I like it when Danish shows, or I don't know, there's a lot out there. There's too much out there on Netflix, actually, so
it's too much.
I
used to notice that back when I was single and traveling a lot, and when I would talk to women, obviously, a lot of these people would say things that literally sounded like it came from the show. like a TV show or a movie or a song.
Okay.
And I really started noticing that many people that, you know, I would be in the mix with, especially the ones that were heavily influenced by American culture and media, they would sound like the people that they would watch all day. And they would sometimes say things, and I would look at them like, dude, I'm not sure if that's an organic thought. That sounds like a line that you've been waiting to use because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like these typical lines, man, these typical like things that are just like I'm wondering where that comes from, and even to the extent of people like art imitates life, but life also imitates art, and art being, you know, media and opera or TV shows, and it's like I even feel like people sometimes mimic the things that they see on TV. Like they want the drama in their relationship because they see the drama on their TV screen. Yeah. That's a real thing. That's a real thing. I've been with women who literally recreate
the TV show
issues that they've seen, and it's like, bitch, I saw you. That's last week's episode that you're now trying to. I'm not him. And but they don't even. They're not doing it consciously. Yeah. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. It's like this big, like melting pot of just like Instagram influencers, the Kardashians, you know, American movies, but also the music, the songs, and listen to the fucking songs on the radio. It's all like meticulously planned. Every fucking September, October, there's like 3 or 4 big commercial hits by an artist or singer that you've never heard from before. The topic is always the same. The topic is always, oh my God, I was lonely. I didn't know what love was. And then I met you, and it was so, you know, amazing and short and explosive. And now we are separate, and I will never forget you. And it's always like, it's completely geared towards all of those people that had like a little summer romance, that went on a vacation somewhere, went to a fucking resort, got drunk for 14 days straight, met a Bulgarian girl, met a Swedish girl, met a Russian girl, you know, met an American girl. And it's like, yeah, of course, it was amazing. You were fucked up 14 days in a row, and all you had to do was have sex and lay in the sun and fucking eat from the all-you-can-eat buffet. And then you go back to your cold country, back to your shitty job or your shitty, you know, high school or college, and then these songs, they just throw these songs on you, you know, and you'll go like, that's my life. That happened to me. Oh my God. It's like, no, that happened to everyone, and they fucking know. Like I do, that's one of the biggest things that I've been noticing for years, man. Every September, October, like clockwork, it just, there you go.
Okay, yeah, it's obvious there's you have some feelings that you relate to some songs, and I still sometimes have that when I hear a song from 2011. There is something that makes me positive about it because of some reason, some emotion you connected with that song. So
I know a few of those songs.
Yeah.
Dude, when they put on Black Eyed Peas, "Tonight's Gonna Be a Good Night."
Yeah.
You know what we think of that, like so. I mean, you and me, we went to this all-in hotel trip with a bunch of friends in Bulgaria, right? Bulgaria.
Bulgaria,
or Bulgaria? Shit, I don't know. Bulgaria. Bulgaria, I think. Bulgaria. Anyway, so yeah, I share some of those songs with you, and we also think of our mutual friend immediately. You know who I'm talking about, because it's just like that's the beauty of music. But as I've gotten older, I am definitely a lot more conscious of it, and it's like you would be a fool to think that they're not conscious of it. The people who are, you know, like these songs would be written by 16, 18 people. Like you got 18 people in a room writing, like, you know, just fucking hammering out songs, and they're even now with algorithms and stuff and artificial intelligence, they have certain keywords that you hear, and that's why a lot of songs nowadays, they sound exactly the same, because they have certain keywords that just like, it's the same music that you hear when you go to the supermarket, the songs that they play there. It's like they only have like a fucking 8-song playlist. Producers
are now using algorithms to produce not only the music but also the lyrics.
Yes, absolutely, yes. And then they also put these certain sounds in there. I wish I could play this sound right now, you know.
That's kind of crazy that artificial intelligence is pushing creativity.
Yes.
That's one of the only things we have left. And if that occurs, I mean, that's scary, I think.
Do you know this song, this sound? I'm going to try to recreate it and make an absolute fool out of myself.
Okay.
It's this typical sound. It's like, ow, ow. And they use it in every fucking song. It's like this... You've heard it a million times. Like, yeah, I can't. It's like
it
this.
It reminded me of a song you once made.
It's like no, but it's like this like it's in every single Sumner song. It's like this high pitched. It's like half a second long. Well, I'm gonna edit it in here. Okay. But every time I hear that, I go, because it makes you feel something, or at least makes you think that you feel something, and this is what. Those are the things that I really like notice, and how it affects people, and how people talk, and how they want to recreate it. Man, it's a real thing. It's a real thing, and the main thing is always like look at the artists. Look at the artists who put this out. I bet you they will never put out anything else a year from then.
So what's your take on using autotune? Because it's been controversial, especially in the past. Now it's kind of more accepted, I think. I appreciate it. So to me, it's like an electric guitar. Like you have an acoustic guitar and you're amping it up through electronics. The same applies to me for autotune. Like you have your voice and you're amping it up with autotune, and I like the sound it produces, but to a lot of people, they're like, no, it's not actually singing. It's artificial. Mm-hmm. It's not good. I don't like it. What's your take on it now? Like,
I still to this day like autotune. I like how it sounds, and maybe I've been programmed to think that way. That's how I perceive it. I like it. Does it bother me that it is the dominant sound right now on the radio? It does a little bit, because too much is too much. But I take more issue with the lyrics these days.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm okay with the autotune, but we went from basically, like, the whole trap genre has gotten completely out of control. It's just, it's so fucking bad now. Yeah. We went from Lil Wayne harmonizing, because that's how it started. A very good rapper that naturally couldn't sing, who began to harmonize, and with autotune, he made it sound good. But Lil Wayne was still very funny and witty, and there was a lot of creativity behind the bars. He wasn't talking about deep stuff, but he was, at the very least, the bar would make you laugh, or would like, oh, that's clever. You know, like, I see what he did there.
How he's putting the words into place. Yeah.
And the metaphors, you know. Like, I'm leaning like a three-legged lion. It's like, oh, yeah, so you see like a lion with 3 legs, he's leaning. Like, I get, like, it's nothing crazy, but I get it.
You can get into his crazy mind how he thinks.
And
he's basically expressing his thoughts in his raps. Like he doesn't think too much about it. It's just his thoughts, and that's what's so great about Lil Wayne.
And it still reaches the bare minimum level of creativity.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's just like all these fucking young autotune trap rappers they don't even rhyme, and they're like, yeah, pussy. Yeah, I get the bag. Big diamonds, fuck you. You can do this.
That's the part about hip-hop I don't like.
It's like, dude, somewhere there has to be a rhyme or like something. Like, no. It's so bad.
It's about money and bitches all the time.
But it's always been about money and bitches.
Yeah,
but look, that's fine as long as you like make it witty. I'm cool with that. Like I'm cool with the ignorance. Mm-hmm. But make it like, and that's why I love Lil Wayne. Like at least he always made it like, when he says, showed your girlfriend the house, she thinks I live in the telly. A bitch I never met, I'm about to meet that bitch in Ellie, like, LA, like just little, it's nothing mind-blowing, but you're like, nah. Or like Juicy J, super ignorant rapper, but if you tell me that Juicy J doesn't have a very clever sense of humor, I'm sorry, then you don't get it, because he does. Juicy fucking J is more funny than most comedians. He says things and purposely he like it's like, oh, I get it. Like, that's funny, man. He makes fun of himself all the time. I like that. With these new rappers, there's no that all that is gone.
Juicy J came out with a new song 3 weeks ago with a video clip. It's super funny. You should see it.
Oh,
like
right,
he's calling his accountant saying, yeah, it's Corona. You can't burn through all of your money. And he's like, oh, fuck it. And this is what I do.
This is what I do. No, I mean, I love ignorant Juicy J. Yeah. I love him because the funny part is he's not actually ignorant. He's super smart.
Yeah.
And I see his intelligence. It's just, exuding through his music. The dude, trap is just, I've definitely found myself in a new phase lately where I'm just like, I can't vibe to that anymore. Always the same beat and just, it's too simple. They've dumbed it down too much. And I was just reading about this morning, about how the genre of hip hop has become so overexposed. Someone was drawing the parallel between what happened to rock. I don't know if you remember, but rock used to be the biggest genre, and then it became so big that it literally like self-destroyed. Rock is basically dead for the last like.
Yeah, I remember him, but it's like 10 years ago. I heard a song.
It's dead because it got so big. Rock used to be the shit, and then it became extremely watered down, and everybody started making rock. And this guy was talking about how the exact same thing has happened to hip hop music, to rap music, and it's true, man.
Don't you think like guys like The Weeknd, Drake got too big and too commercialized, that they kind of fucked up the hip hop community, where it's possible to make such big amounts of money now through hip hop, that they're all going for this general sound and less substance?
I think it was always going to happen. I think it was all. If it wasn't Drake, it would have been, maybe, I don't know, someone else. But it's just and it's a real thing. It's happened, and at this point, I think that there's something new is coming. Yeah. I think we have seen the peak of hip hop. I thoroughly believe that.
Yeah.
I think we're at the peak. The peak and the peak can be the peak for a while, eh? Yeah. Like, I'm not saying next year, but because everyone is rapping now, and like, for example, like Logan Paul, these crazy goofy YouTubers who are like, obviously they're not musicians. The crazy part is, when he makes a song, you know what the crazy part is? It actually sounds exactly like every other song on the radio. You would never, if Logan Paul comes on, you would never say, "Oh, was this trash?" No, you would be like, that's the norm.
And that's the problem with autotune, that it enables guys like that to actually sound quite good.
Acceptable.
Yeah, or acceptable.
But I'm doing the same, man. I was making songs like literally a few months ago, because But then again, in my defense, even though my vocals suck, at least my lyrics are still about something. I'm not just like shouting profanity. And I love autotune, but trap in general is just no. And I've also outgrown it. I've gotten to a point where it's crazy, man, how you actually become more mature and you kind of get tired of listening to gun talk all the time and like calling women hoes and this and that. It gets old. It does. It does.
Yeah, music has evolved, What I always used to like was just watching like MTV or something and watch these video clips and the creativity that was put in it, and especially from rappers also. But that's something, that's completely disappeared. Yeah, and they all have the same look too, with the dreads and the pink dreads, but dude, you know what? It's also because we're getting older. It's also because I'm actually considering getting rid of my Spotify because I haven't been listening to it a lot. I'm paying every month, and I'm like, man, is it worth it? Because I now have accumulated enough. You need an extra subscription for the podcast also.
I'm not even putting this podcast on Spotify yet, which I have to start doing.
No, but I mean to listen to, let's say, Joe Rogan or Trainer. Because Joe Rogan is on the 1st of December going to Spotify exclusively, I think.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Fuck, guess I'm staying. Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Joe Rogan, for making me stay. I don't know if it's just me being like conservative, but the new stuff, I told you this before, I've just been, I appreciate, now I'm looking at all of the old stuff now, like I just found this rare wine. Does it like, because it's discontinued. It's like the best sneaker ever got discontinued and they started making a new sneaker, but it's not as good as the old sneaker. So you want to dig to buy the old sneakers somewhere that they got discontinued, so they're limited edition. Does that make sense?
But the old YouTube videos will stay available, right?
I think all the full length podcasts are gone from YouTube, but I think the clips will stay.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, no, we have to go to Spotify. The thing is, what bothers me about, Spotify doesn't have a comment section.
That's huge. Yeah.
Dude, I'm wondering. I mean, who am I to tell Joe Rogan? Like, clearly he knows, but I'm wondering though. I do, if he understands the magnitude, the importance of the comment section in his channel. Like that's his comment section is like its own Reddit. Yeah. It's like it has a life of its own.
And you can learn a lot from the people putting their opinions on there.
It's amazing.
And sometimes it's just random shit. Because I've also seen young people talking like YouTube comments. Like, that occurs a lot.
It does, man.
Like these funny comments they are all making on their YouTube videos.
It does.
Young people are just talking like that in general now.
It does.
It's super weird.
It's weird. But I remember then when I was 18, I used to say to my friend, we would say lol. Yeah. We did it like laughing out loud, LOL. Yeah. In Dutch, you say lol, and we used to say that. What do you think my dad thought when I said lol? Like what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, but we did that. We said lol. So. Yeah. It's like we even said ruffle, like ROFL, rolling over the floor laughing. We said ruffle. It's like, so it's...
that's part of being young.
It's part of being young.
Language, right?
But back to the comment section, dude, sometimes I don't even listen to the video as much as I'm reading the comment section. I really wonder then... So I was watching a Joe Rogan video today, and he apparently has a plan to he's gonna buy a ranch in Texas.
Okay.
So expand, and then on that ranch, create another show aside from the podcast where they do crazy stuff.
Okay.
That's his idea.
And what do you mean by doing crazy stuff, like experiments or?
He just said like we're gonna do some crazy stuff and on the ranch. So he said he was saying it like I had 3 goals. First goal was to come and set up shop out here. Second goal it was to he wants to open a comedy store there, like a comedy theater where you can, comics can perform. And then the third one was him buying a ranch and doing crazy stuff on there and also broadcasting it. But I do feel like because I've been binging old Joe Rogan podcasts, he's gotten old, man, like physically. And so, dude, when you look at the podcast that he did 6 years ago, he used to be much more of a comic, like a comedian. Yeah. He used to be like this. He would make sounds like this, and he would talk about woos and woo, and like he was super animated, like a comic. And then you look at him now, he's like, so what do you think happened with the election? Like he's gone from, he's much more, I don't know, maybe he's
gotten too big, maybe. Because now he's more like doing interviews, and his guests are the star because he can get those guests coming, like a Kanye West or, for instance, lots of people have come there.
It's
now.
more interview than podcast now.
Yeah. Do you think Donald Trump will go there?
Fuck, I would love that. I would love.
Because Joe Rogan wants to do that too, I think.
Oh, dude, he would do it. Joe Rogan would do it in a heartbeat. But
could you imagine Donald Trump and Joe Rogan? That would be the craziest podcast ever.
Fuck, man. I'm getting a mental erection right now. That would be
sharing stories he shouldn't. And
I would build a whole like event around watching that podcast. I would set it up like a UFC title fight. Not that I'm into UFC, but like the World Cup finale. Game 7 of the NBA Finals, I would like, that would be, Yeah, that would be amazing. Then again, I remember thinking, what if Kanye West comes on? That would also be amazing, and it was quite. I didn't like it at all.
It was quite lackluster, and it's.
I also felt like Joe didn't.
He wasn't invested in it. He didn't want it. He just let Kanye ramble.
Yeah. And he didn't want to like really battle him, and but there's more of that lately. I feel like he used to be much more like, and now. But dude, then again, you know, if you imagine doing over 1,500 podcasts, each 3-4 hours long, I mean, he's 53 now. It's I will always, but I do say I like the old stuff more. I'm curious where this is gonna go, man. I'm very curious. Like I said, this has been. I don't think I've talked this much on a podcast since I started podcasting. Aside from the ones with Katya, obviously, and this is more what I like, finding that balance, you know.
Yeah, and then I think that's what you're good at, right?
I think so too, but it's like, you know, you get somebody, you know, like I got some big names here, and then you're like, oh, I want to let them talk, you know, get the most out of them. But then again, it defeats the purpose, because then they can just Google an interview by them.
It's just general information, while you actually want to see opinions.
Yeah,
that's the part about podcasts that's so interesting. You're getting different opinions about it, and it's, if you want to just get information, you can just watch general YouTube videos with animations, and it will probably be more of a purpose to you than actually a podcast, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
Man, before we go, we have to talk a little bit about the NBA, man. Just a little bit. Like, if you're still watching at this point, obviously you like hearing us talk, so you're not gonna mind this one. Dude, Lakers. Okay. We're stacked. We got Schroeder. I'm very sad about Rondo. But then again, I'm like,
he didn't go to the Clippers.
That's big.
And they don't got a point guard. They're chipping
the Clippers. Yeah,
Williams now.
Dude, yeah, they're gonna get him out of there.
Yeah.
They're gonna get him out of there. Dude, I saw Lou Williams, man. I never understood him. He was on a podcast. He was on All the Smoke. Mm-hmm. So he's on this podcast, All the Smoke, and they're like, dude, he just signed his new deal with LA with the Clippers, and they're like, you took a hometown discount. Like, you could have gotten a lot more money, because his contract wasn't that big at the time that he signed. It wasn't that big.
I know. Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, you know, I wanted to ball in LA. I wanted to you know, I gave him the hometown discount. But after that, you know, when this contract is up and I'm like 35, I'm still gonna rob some other teams. He literally said rob. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, do you understand that this is gonna be forever on the internet, first of all? Second of all, why would you take a discount when clearly you don't have a no trading clause, so they can ship you out anytime they want? So I never got the notion, I never understood the concept of like giving a team a discount just so you can geographically play there.
Well, I get it. If you're title hunting, then it's an obvious choice you can make. Like,
right.
For example, like a guy like Marc Gasol, like, he has made enough money. Okay, you get a vet minimum. That's obvious to me. Or a guy, even like after this, Chris Paul probably is not going to chase another big contract. He's probably going to do a vet minimum and get a title on one of these
the Laker teams. We're going to get it all. We were supposed to get Chris Paul fucking 8 years ago, man.
Yeah.
Fucking Stern.
Why did that trade get cancelled?
He vetoed it. Stern vetoed it.
Yeah, but what was the reason?
Well, I think that the owners were basically telling Stern, you can't let this happen, because the NBA was in charge of the trades of New Orleans at the time.
Okay.
They were the owners. And then, so the NBA was like, then the owners were like, you can't give prime Kobe, prime Chris Paul. That's not fair.
And the trade was for Gasol?
No. The trade was... Gasol stayed, and they had Howard, and they had Ron Artest too. I'm not sure why, in the end it happened, but it's just crazy how they always talk about players like he's done, like Chris Paul was done 3 years ago, but then all of a sudden now he's not done again.
But they say it's because of the vegan diet, eh?
Ah, yeah.
They say the vegan diet resurrected his career because he had a lot of injuries always, and Well, yeah, probably. Yeah, I get it, and I think it does help. Like a guy like Lewis Hamilton also follows the vegan diet fully. Kyrie Irving also does, right?
Yeah.
Because he's an ambassador for Beyond Meat, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a smart choice of him. And in general, Chris Paul is just such a smart, good basketball player. Like he doesn't really need that much of athleticism.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main thing the Lakers teach us this off season, this last season with Rondo and LeBron, that if you're smart enough, you can dictate the flow and the pace of the game. And that was really nice to see. Like it's not pure athleticism that wins all the time. You also need that experience level and the general flow of the game, and reading the game it's super important, and that's what they teach us, especially with Rondo and LeBron, I think.
I'm so happy for Rondo that he got that contract.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny that I care about someone else's financial situation, but I'm happy for him. Like, because he earned that.
Do you think the Hawks will be good?
No.
Because they also got Bogdanovic now.
Fucking hell, they do.
So
I don't know, because well, I mean, I just look at them as a team that's going to score a lot of points, but they're not going to do anything in the playoffs. Trae Young is like, he doesn't play any defense. So what are they going to do? Then they got Gallinari in there. Gallinari was 40% on catch and shoot threes last season. He was like the third or fifth best catch and shoot 3-point shooter in the league. So that makes a lot of sense, pairing him with Trae Young. But the Hawks is one of those teams that just seems in their DNA that they're never going to be a true competitor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, the problem with Trae Young is that I don't think he can carry the defense, and I don't know if there is one guy on that team now that can anchor the defense. But yeah, they're not probably that relevant. Because what's interesting about next season is, I think, who will be the second team in the West? You think the Clippers still?
I think so, yeah. I guess so. Because who else? I think the Mavs are going to be very relevant. I think they're going to be extremely good because they, like, Luka, he's next. Luka is literally, I think this is going to be the season. I could see Luka becoming MVP this season. That's my pick for MVP. And I just think he's going to take that franchise and basically carry them to a third seed in the West. Yeah. Maybe even a second if LA gets some injuries.
Because from the young stars, would you like more Jason Tatum or Devin Booker?
I am. Oh my God! I don't like either. No, I don't. You just made me pick between my two least favorite. Like.
Oh no.
But you know what? I guess I don't like Devin Booker because he's on a losing team and he always loses. So it's like it never seems. I shouldn't even say that about Devin Booker. And Tatum is like. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not a big. If I compare a Tatum and a Booker to, for example, like I said, like a Luka, I feel like I'm forgetting someone.
But Karl Anthony Towns?
No, I don't like him either.
Yeah, no, he's the worst.
He's the worst.
Like, who in your mind are the five biggest talents coming up right now in the NBA?
Oh,
excluding Giannis, because he's already there.
Yeah, so definitely Luka number one. There's no doubt about that one. Obviously, LaMelo Ball. No, not LaMelo Ball. I would say, help me out here, man. Who can I pick from? Because I'm blanking.
Zion. Ben Simmons.
Fuck.
Who else do we got? Yeah, Jason Tatum, Devin Booker. Karl Anthony Towns.
I feel like we're forgetting someone. Who am I? Wasn't there like...
Tyler Hero?
Yeah, dude, that's my number two.
Really? Tyler Hero?
I'm so biased because of the finals. I put Hero above Tatum, above Booker, above Karl Anthony Towns, above. I like him. I like it. What he would.
But what did he average in the finals? Like, it's 14 points.
He's a rookie.
Okay.
Did you see what he did against the Celtics, man?
Yeah, he's good, but...
Wow. Against Tatum?
Yeah.
I'm on the bandwagon. I'm on the Tyler Hero bandwagon. Yeah. I understand that I'm probably a prisoner of the moment. But I really think that, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm on it. I like him. Might be wrong. Who else do we got? Man, Kyle Kuzma? Fuck no.
Kuzma. No.
You think Alonzo Ball is going to bounce back?
I do. I think he'll be relevant in the NBA for the next 10 years.
He's going to be this guy, like, he'll be, he'll be in the league for a long time.
Yeah, I agree.
He will just never be what he was,
Projected to.
Yeah.
The more interesting is what LaMelo will be, because now he's got his team. However, the Hornets already quite stacked on guards because they also have Devontae Graham and PJ Washington.
I got zero hopes for LaMelo. When I watch him play, when I watch him speak as a human being, I just see a very, very limited person. Like, he just looks like this. He doesn't look like this guy who wants to live in the gym and become better. I think he just wants to drive the Ferraris and be like the flashy.
What do you think is the involvement of Jordan on it? On that, also the draft pick decision?
I mean, Jordan might be the worst GM in the history of GMs.
Because he always picks the guys with the great mentality, but not the talent.
So I guess now he went against his usual. Good point. I don't know, man. I wonder how much LaMelo cares about a guy like Jordan. I genuinely wonder, because I could see LaMelo being just like,
LeBron is the GOAT. That's probably what he thinks.
It's like something like that, man.
Or Kevin Durant or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see LaMelo Ball working out in any universe. I just don't see that working. I really don't. Just because of the way he presents himself as a person. Yeah. I just think that he's not. And Tyler Hero is the guy that is in the gym 8 hours a day. That's Tyler Hero.
Yeah.
I've been doing some research on this guy. He is a gym rat.
And he has intangibles. Like, he's not afraid of the moment.
Exactly.
I don't know if he sees his athleticism is good enough.
I mean, if you can shoot well enough, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Right.
Like, he just has to get better at, like.
I think he will struggle in the next year. I think
probably
it's the sophomore, like Jason Tatum also had it. Mm-hmm. It's defenders are now scheming for him and knowing how to defend him. Yeah. I think he'll struggle this year, to be honest. It's inherently common with sophomore years. Luka didn't have it, but I think Luka is just the next superstar.
Luka, we haven't seen anything like that yet, I think. I think he's going to be the face of the league for the next 15 years.
Luka and Giannis, yeah.
Luka, I think Giannis less. I don't see that leap everybody talks about. Everybody's talking about the leap he's going to take soon, and I'm just like, I don't see that. I don't see him. I don't think there is any universe in which Giannis is going to turn into a good three-point shooter. I just don't see that happening ever.
There is an expiration date on his greatness, I think.
Yeah. And I think what it is now, that's what it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Freakishly athletic, incredible defensive force. So the only way he could get better, in my opinion, is if he would turn into an actual shooter and the ability to shoot. And I just don't. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. I don't see that happening.
The interesting part is if he gets a really good point guard, and Jrue Holiday is a good guard, two-way player, but it's not like he's super creative. Like, I want to see him with a guy like Chris Paul, for instance. Giannis. That would be great to see him, because then Chris Paul takes away the creativity part and the technical aspects of Giannis that he doesn't have, and pairing up Chris Paul again with you saw it with Blake Griffin, with a guy like Giannis. Would be interesting, I think. For me, the crazy part is also the Warriors, man, and how quickly dynasties come and go. And I remember so vividly. I remember thinking, "Fuck, they're gonna be here for another at least 6 years, and they already won 3 rings," and just like that. It's crazy what they did. Kelly Oubre. But it's you know why they did that, because they're like, we can't afford another season of tanking because we already lost 2 years of prime Steph Curry. We have to do it now, and
And he's not. The Warriors are not winning another ring with Steph Curry. Period. It's not happening.
If Stephen Curry gets hurt in the first 10 games, they're gonna tank again because next year's draft is the best draft in 5 years or something. It's an insane draft apparently. Like really, really top-notch talent from the first 10 players. So like they say, like the guys who went top 3 now wouldn't go top 8 in the next year's draft.
This draft was a joke, man. It was a joke.
So I can see them actually going to tank again. If Steph Curry gets hurt in one of the early in the season, I can see that happen. Yeah.
But why are we giving a pass to him potentially getting hurt again? Like that bothers me, man. That's what I don't like about the whole Steph Curry fucking hype train. He's injury prone. Duran said it when they gave him the mic. He said, I have never been injured in a playoff game in my life. I've always made sure I was available for my team to play. Mm-hmm. He doesn't get enough credit for that. Look at fucking Kawhi with his load management bullshit.
Yeah.
And then Curry, like, all right, last year, that whole hand injury was suspect to me. Like, he could have came back. He could have played. He could have played, man.
But they were tanking.
Yeah, okay, get it. Okay, cool, you tank. Whatever. I need to see if, listen, if Steph Curry doesn't fucking go out there this whole next season, which is already going to be shortened, and fucking at least tries to carry his team, I need to see him put up 28 a night, or for me, he takes a huge legacy hit.
How old is he now?
31?
I thought he was older already, but
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
Completely guessing.
Yeah, but he's a shooter, so it doesn't really need to matter.
Doesn't really matter, but still. Do you think Clay is ever gonna come close to being Clay again?
No, I'm afraid he'll come back and be some sort of Joe Harris type of guy.
No, Dude, you cannot. All right, so if he does come back, which I'm sure he will not have played for more than 2.5 years, correct?
I think that's already the instance.
He
has missed over. I thought I saw something like 560 days. So okay, that's
close to 2 years.
So it will be more than 2 years. Yeah.
I just don't believe that you can stop being an NBA player for more than 2 years and then come back and be one of the best NBA players again. I don't see it. It doesn't matter how many drills you run. I don't see it.
Well, it has happened. Like, for instance, a guy like Grant Hill. Do you remember?
I remember.
But he was still younger, I think.
And he was never the same. He was never the same. He was never. He did sign his big contract right before he got injured. Good for him.
That would have been a great shift in history, because we all know that Tim Duncan might have signed with the Magic.
The Magic.
And they also had Grant Hill and T-Mac.
They
would have been a dynasty.
Fucking,
that would have been crazy.
But Grant Hill would have still gotten injured.
Yeah.
And, dude, what do you think about Boogie Cousins on Houston?
Well, first of all, I think Houston got better because everybody thinks because of the Covington trade that they're worse now. But now they got Christian Wood, who's the best center signing of the whole offseason. And, okay, Cousins, he can shoot three-pointers, so they're still spacing. I like it. I think we're underestimating the Rockets. Like you said during this week, like Westbrook was playing out of his mind before the lockdown. He was recovering when Corona, or no?
Yeah, Corona.
Also, like let's say Jurgen Klopp has come out and said, we're underestimating the effect that these Corona infections have on our players. Like they're not coming back the same way, and I think the same applied to Russell Westbrook in the bubble. So it's interesting. I think if you're the Rockets, just keep Harden and just keep Westbrook. You're not getting any value out of it.
Yeah.
If I trade Harden, I also want to see Westbrook go, and I want a return of a lot of assets. I would trade him for Ben Simmons, I think. It's the only trade that makes up in my mind. I wouldn't trade him for Chris LeVert and a bunch of picks of the Nets. I wouldn't do that. But yeah, that's my opinion.
Can you imagine Harden on the Nets? Harden, Kyrie, and KD? Oh,
I would love to see
I would love to see that.
But I don't think it would work.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Their usage rate is too much, and I think Kyrie will clash.
I just like I need Kyrie to give me at least one season of staying injury free, putting up at least 24 a game and 10 assists, and just like reminding us why we actually listen to his opinion in the first place again. Because he's also one of those players like I feel like it happens a lot where these players just kind of like they achieve a lot, but then they get injured. But then it's like at one point you got to become a good player again.
Yeah, and play basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because when Kyrie left, it was kind of a stain on LeBron's resume. But
look how it
turned out. Yeah,
dude, I was definitely not a LeBron fan for the first 13 years of his career easily, and it's just like, look at what he's done, and look at like it's impossible not to like him at this point as a player and not to respect him and to understand that this is our Michael Jordan that we're watching. Yeah. And if you're not enjoying that, then
what do you think? When was LeBron's best season?
I mean, like individually or
individually. When was he the best player? Throughout his career, from what we've seen this far.
Second year on Miami.
Yeah.
Second year on Miami, he was something else.
Okay.
He losing to Dallas turned him into a villain.
Yeah.
And he just went to this different level. He was angry LeBron, like
he was insane on the defense. He defended Tony Parker, and then he switched down to the center, and he also did it. That was the crazy part.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Absolute force of nature that year.
Yeah. But his jumper was still a little bit suspect. I think
that's true. It got better later on.
If you see him now playing, like he sees the game still a lot more better than he did back in the day.
Yeah, it's insane, man. Yeah. He's such a savant. He's such a he just sees it. But then, at this point, he is literally one injury away from ending his career. So I'm begging you, if you like basketball, you're listening to this, and you don't like LeBron, like, fix your mentality and appreciate it, because this guy, it's funny because now the NBA now fucking NBA journalists, they can never talk in the gray zone. It has to be black or white. So before it used to be, LeBron's done, he's over, this is the end. Clearly that wasn't the case. Now everyone is talking about, he's got 4 more years left. And I hate that shit. It's like, no, he doesn't. I'm not saying there's not a possibility he's not going to play for 4 more years. He literally has to slip one fucking time and pull something really bad, and he'd be done. So we need to understand that at this point, every season can very well be his last. And when they say he's got 4 more years left, it devaluates him in a sense. Because you're like, we got. Look at the Warriors. Look at KD. Look at Clay, you know?
Yeah, especially with this short off season, like we don't know how LeBron's body is going to recover from it.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. Like, he's one of the oldest players in the league now, and he's got the shortest amount of rest. And we all know, like, he has his routine during off season, which he now can't follow. So it's interesting to see. I hope he doesn't get injured, but he has an excuse to do some load management, I think, this season.
He needs to do all the load management.
Yeah, and that's the good part about the Dennis Schroeder signing. I think he'll be able to carry the team with AD through the season, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
And on that note, man, I want to thank you for coming out to the podcast. I think it was a great episode. I think we spoke about a lot of different topics. By the way, the guy you were talking about, who, this Lex Luthor from the pharma industry, Martin Skrittel. Martin Skrittel, that's his name. Martin. It just popped in my head because we said a different name. It was Martin Skrittel. And he, you know what he did? So the Wu-Tang Clan, they recorded an album of which there's only one copy, right? This actually happened. So they made an album and there's only one physical copy. There's no MP3s, nothing, right? And they put that one copy up for auction. That was like this whole thing. And he bought it. And then he Then he was like playing songs of it on a live stream to taunt the Wu-Tang fans and stuff. Yeah, this guy is insane. Batshit crazy.
Yeah. He's baddest guy on the world, yeah.
Lex Luthor in the flesh.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming, man. I hope you'll be back soon to the show. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment, all that good stuff. Boone and Viking, checking out.